You ever watch a show and you're like, God, this definitely would have killed on like early morning 2010s Disney Channel? That's it. That's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment. And today we are talking about a new reality competition show from Max. As an HBO Max, as an HBO, the new show, Humans versus Hamsters. To find out who the true superior species is. I had heard nothing about this. I saw a video from Max that was like humans versus hamsters, and I was like, okay, what YouTuber pitched this? This is the thing that everyone always talks about YouTube. Like, everyone is always like, oh my God, YouTubers should get their own shows and like things like that. They usually talk about Mr. Beast and things like that, which, you know, but like this is what it would look like. Like, this is what like a YouTube scale type of show would look like on this scale. It looks very awkward. So let me pull up the information for this, and we're going to talk about humans versus hamsters. Why does this have a 7.4 on IMDb out of 10? This aired a couple of days ago. It's November as I'm filming this. I don't know why they did it this way in particular, but according to this, it says, in this innovative interspecies competition series, humans and hamsters square off in an epic battle of skill, strength, and agility for cash prizes. The first episode is the one that I watched because I wasn't going to make myself suffer through more of this, because frankly, the writing is not great. For a lot of reality competition shows like this, okay, challenge shows like this, there is an element of scripting for the hosts and things like that, but they kept doing these little bit parts in it as well, where I'm like, I don't like this. This feels very much for children, but like this is, I don't know how to explain what's happening here. We're just going to talk about it. But like on top of this whole thing as well, throughout this show, it's not just humans versus hamsters and like you're competing against a hamster. They have different genres of humans. So like the first episode is actually called Teachers and Nurses. So actually it's not humans versus hamsters. It's humans versus humans gaining points via hamsters. And then they square off against hamsters. Does that make sense? Are you having an aneurysm? Because I feel like I am. I honestly am trying to figure out like how I could have made this show better, like in my head. And I do feel like they kind of toe the line between taking it too seriously and not seriously enough. And that is kind of the problem. I think you needed to go hardcore. This is very serious. These hamsters are athletes, and that is who is being competed against. Instead, they kept doing little bits where like these hamsters, like there's one named Warrior. And so then they would do like this little animation where the warrior, this actual real life hamster turns into an animated version of itself as a warrior, or Shadow turns into like a shadow. I think Kevin is the Nepo hamster. Yes, there's a Nepo hamster, and yes, they really drill in the point that it's a Nepo hamster, to the point where I was just like, this is no longer funny. This bit is not funny anymore. So like first episode, we got Teachers and Nurses, Trivia Kings and Volunteer Queens, Weekend Warriors and Theater Kids, Wrestlers and Lawyers. I may have to watch that one. So like I said, the first episode is Teachers versus Nurses. This definitely looks like it was made for Nickelodeon. Sarah Sherman is our host, okay? She's wearing diamond pants and a bright rainbow top. So the whole shtick of this show, okay, is that the hamsters and humans are in the exact same scenario, the exact same challenges, but they're sized accordingly. So if a human is doing an obstacle course, the hamster is doing the same obstacle course sized for hamsters. I mean, I guess this is something where, sure, you need something to watch with your kids while they're stuck home from school for Thanksgiving break or the holiday break, I suppose.
I'm excited. Human versus hamster is my first foray into interspecies athletics, and I gotta say, it's a spicy matchup.
Interspecies athletics is the phrase that he's using here, and I suppose that is exactly what this is, but this is crazy. But yes, nurses versus teachers, and yes, they dress the teachers up exactly as you would expect. And then here is our lineup of the hamsters for this episode. We got Warrior, Ham, Shadow, and Kevin. And yes, they make a joke about Kevin being the great-great-great-grandchild of Sarah's childhood hamster.
In this episode, they'll face off on Locked Out, Fast and Furious, Bottle Royale, and Furball.
If either human team beats the hamsters in a challenge, they win $1,000.
This is the thing that also gets me. I don't think this is enough money for this. Every time they beat the hamsters in a challenge, they get $1,000. What do the hamsters get? I have no idea. And then whichever team wins the most against the hamsters at the end is the one that competes against the hamsters during the main challenge, Escape the Cage, for a trophy that includes a 3D printed hamster on it. They didn't even file it down. It's an interesting trophy. It's got a bottle feeder on it. It's just, this is fascinating.
Humans aren't competing against your average pet store finds. They're not just hamsters, they're ham stars.
For the season, there are 10 hamsters competing constantly. We have Warrior, Ham, Shadow, who transforms into a Assassin's Creed person. I don't know how I feel about the animations for the hamsters. I feel like if you're going to do hamsters versus humans, you have to just commit to these. These are the hamsters. This is who you have. Kevin, and Kevin is a little overweight, but we love Kevin. And Kevin is an athlete, okay? I think you need to leave it as Kevin. I don't think we need to give him like the Theodore edit, a la Alvin and the Chipmunks, okay? I think, or was it Simon? No, they have him kind of looking like Simon. But like overall, I don't think that that's necessary. It adds to the goofiness for the kids. But again, I would have respected this more if it went full ham with the ham and just went crazy with it.
And it's Sarah's personal favorite, the great-great-grandson of her childhood hamster, Kevin. Wonder how he got invited.
Come on, it's show business, Brian. You didn't think there'd be some nepotism involved?
And then this is the first mention where we get mention of Kevin's nepotism traits. And if they just left this here, I probably would be like, okay, that's funny. But they later, when it's Kevin's turn to compete, they bring it up again. Understandably, Hermes has thoughts about humans versus hamsters because sometimes he does look like a hamster. Who do you think is going to win in the humans versus hamsters debate? Who do you think is the proper species, the best species? He's like, let me the fuck down. Okay. So we've got Chris and John, who are dressed exactly how you would think they would dress teachers for this show. But they do seem to actually be teachers, which is good because that was my initial thought, is that they just got actors to do this or like day players to come and do this. There's this training montage that they do. They actually do train. Like one of them does marathons. They're here to educate and to dominate. So this is locked out where they are going to have to compete against the hamsters to get up and into this obstacle course to get the key first ahead of the hamsters. So one of the team members goes each time. So they're having the drama teacher go first, and he is deathly afraid of heights. He is competing against Warrior, the hamster. So it's 28 feet high for the humans. They do a split screen, which is smart, where they have the cameras for the humans and the hamsters side by side, which does really add into the fact that these are 1-to-1 scale models, essentially. I want to tell you that the humans won this round, and it was close. So close that I have questions.
Warrior's squeezing through the window, just needs the key. Come on. First one to touch the key wins. Chris wins by a whisker.
Now, what I assume they do is they film the humans bits like once, and then they do the hamster bits like a good handful of times. Because yes, hamsters will just go, but like they're not using food or anything that looks like that I can identify to get them to do things. So I'm assuming they're either removing the food bits or whatever, or they are just doing it a couple of times so that they know the path. Because I mean, you can just stick a hamster in a thing and it also may just sit there. So I assume they do this a handful of times. And then we have the nurses. Oh my God, they just gave us Mount Kilimanjaro in the hamster view. Also, there was this insane clip from the nurses where it's like, we're gonna take this on, and one of them is reading a hamster CPR book and the other one is doing fake CPR on a hamster. The show is so weird. Again, this would have done better for kids on like Nickelodeon or Disney Channel like a handful of years ago. And then now we once again have a bit about Kevin being a nepotism baby hamster.
You're not just a nepo hamster, you're my nepo hamster. Plus, who needs to show off with strength or agility when you can be relatable by being lazy and eating a lot? Come on, give me a pound.
This is a whole side bit of her talking to Kevin. I'll give you guys the jump cut. Shivani wins. She gets the key before Kevin even gets up into the key. Kevin reacts the way that I feel like a hamster would normally act, whereas I feel like they're clipping the other hamsters to make them look more like, hamsters.
This is Fast and Furious. Both humans and hamsters must push a car that weighs as much as they do up a 106-foot-long curved track.
The hamsters win one of this round in a way that is so stupid it drove me insane, because the mechanics are different and therefore this is not a 1-to-1 model. They have to get inside the elevator to go back down to the bottom. The problem is that for the humans, the elevator does not descend automatically. The elevator descends when both of their hands are on the bar. For the hamster, they just have to flop into the elevator and the pulley system immediately brings them down. So naturally, the hamster eventually wins because at the end, he did get into the thing faster, but he flopped in and grabbed it, and it wasn't fast enough because there was no hesitation for the elevator for the hamsters the way there was for the humans. Therefore, this is not equivalent mechanics. Therefore, this is rigged. Therefore, hamsters do not win. I call bullshit. Yes, I'm taking this far too seriously, but you know what? This is life. This is not humans versus hamsters. This is life. Game competition shows mean something, okay? And that means that we need to have equivalent mechanics for the interspecies athletic competition if we're going to do it this way, okay? And that means equivalent mechanics. That's not the right word, but you get my point, okay? There should have been something that would make it so that the hamster has to be fully inside of the thing to make it delayed, or the hamster has to be sitting upright, because most of the time they just plopped right in and then immediately went down. It was also a shorter distance. So of course it's not going down at the same speed as the actual physical one where they are lowering them down. It's not the same thing. Therefore, rigged. End of video. The teacher beat the hamster in this one around because, again, the mechanics are different. And this was rigged. Allie gets a do-over, okay? These are also long episodes. This is a whopping 40 minutes. Hence why I'm only doing one episode. There's no need for me to do this whole show. So now this is Bottle Royale, where they have to get in to the bottle, both of them, and then get out of the bottle the way a hamster would. I don't think they're competing against the hamsters, though. I think they are competing just to even out the numbers. Hamsters can fit inside a hole that is the size of their skull, and so that is what they're trying to get humans to do. So the bottle is based off of each team's largest competitor. So the teachers are just going first, and then the nurses just have to try and beat their time, and that's kind of it. So they quite literally are forcing each other in. Oh my God, we got one teacher in, and then he's pulling Chris in. Oh my God, this is insane. That first getting in was very difficult. Getting out, let's see if it looks slightly less difficult. There's literally foam coming out. All right, they got out in 42 seconds. In and out in 42 seconds. And now it's time for the nurses. So this is literally just to even out the categories, it seems, because the nurses lost to the hamsters. They are able to do it. They do it in 40 seconds. They tie it up with 2,000. And then they started doing hamster trivia. Like here, how long in months did the oldest hamster live? And yes, the teachers got it right. And now they're doing bowling, where they're literally inside a giant hamster ball to roll down into a bunch of pins. Shadow and Kevin are who are our competitors this time around. Shadow's the son of a diplomat. I'm telling you, this would have killed on early morning kids television. And then one of the hamsters rolls the other hamster down and knocks the pin. They got only 4 pins down. And then now it's time for the nurses. Right down the center and gets 8 pins knocked over. A 7-10 split. Humans win. Now the teachers are competing against Ham and Shadow in the same competition. There's so much happening behind the scenes. There's no way this is humane. Just forgetting to push Shadow down is what it seems like. Oh no. So I had questions about, whether or not this is humane, because I've never had a hamster. And so I found on Reddit, on Our Hamsters, Humans versus Hamsters show questions. I've never even touched a hamster before, so I was wondering 2 things. Firstly, is the show potentially dangerous? Secondly, what is everyone here's opinion on the show in general? Just hearing about this, it sounds like animal abuse. Hamsters are nocturnal, skittish prey animals with poor vision and easy to get stressed. Super bummed that it's exploiting little hams, and hams are not even known for being smart. I mean, that one rat can drive a car. I just wanted to see cute hamsters in the show. Gives me such a weird feeling. Who is the audience even supposed to be? Why hamsters? Why are they adding so many squeaking noises? Hamsters don't squeak like that. Also, hamsters shouldn't be in balls. Coming from someone who's been on the show, I can confirm that those hamsters are being treated better than the humans. Oh, is this Allie? This is Allie, I think one of the nurses. Coming from someone who's been on the show, I can confirm that those hamsters were being treated better than the humans. We use animals in today's world for the most brutal experiments and chemical tests, etc. In this case, they were thrown in an obstacle course. I think they're doing just fine. Valid concerns though, but worry no more. Humans, the hamsters are just fine. Someone said multiple people who have been on the show have confirmed that the hamsters were being treated well. You haven't been behind the scenes and seen the actual way they work, and multiple people who have seen behind the scenes literally confirmed that they were treated better than most people. Someone said here, as a vegan who was a contestant on the show, I can confirm the hamsters were treated great. Everything with the hamsters were filmed separately in a much calmer environment. Editing makes it look otherwise. That's basically what I had assumed was happening. Even them being filmed separately, most of the complaints that I've seen or the comments on my video, because I did make a video like this is a show on TikTok, and a lot of the comments are like them falling from even that small of a height for like this obstacle course course, would be harmful to the hamsters. And again, I am not that familiar with hamster well-being or like what they can and can't take because it's a hamster. I am not going to make the judgment on whether or not this show is humane. I am simply talking about the fact that I had my own questions about this because this seemed odd, and also the show itself in its existence seems insane. I am so curious how this was pitched. I'm so curious why they thought this was a good idea. This is insane. Let's continue with bowling. Them just holding themselves in place seems like a weird decision here. They're literally bolting themselves into this ball versus just running with the ball the way a hamster would, which is an interesting, I don't know if that's something they had to do or what the deal was, but Ham and Shadow lost. Teachers won. And then Kevin and Shadow also lost. And now they are doing a hamster wheel runoff to see who will win, where they are literally running in a hamster wheel. The first to complete 10 rotations sends their team on. They are timing the rotations. This is the humans competing against nurses versus teachers. But again, the teacher we know for a fact runs marathons. Oh, Allie fell. Allie fell. Allie's like locked. Wait, that's so weird. I call bullshit. Teachers won. Teachers are into the finale. Now, the finale is another obstacle course. This is Escape the Cage. This thing is extensive, and it's to win the trophy and $5,000 additional dollars on top of the $4,000 they got. I believe 3. We got a start, we got a spiral, we got dominoes, monster mouse, pegboards, rope bridge, candy cane roller, juice box alley, teeter-totters, hamster wheels, spinners, and then the finish. That was out of order, sorry, at the end. I don't like how they labeled everything, but I do appreciate the labelings. Going through the spiral where it's literally like a spring spiral that they have to crawl through. Shadow's low-key sending it, I will say that. The hamsters all seem to be different breeds of hamsters because Shadow is very small, and other hamsters, like obviously Kevin is a very large hamster.
Shadow stretching out to the first domino, keeping her weight spread across the tops, and now Chris, look out! Oh, big fall into the cubes.
Monster mouse, they literally have to go through the foam cubes to get through the monsters. Shadow got distracted, but is going to make it through the monster mouse. Across the rope bridge, Shadow's just zooming and is already into Juice Box Alley, avoiding the swinging juice boxes and the candy cane roller. Chris is down into the juice boxes, but again, Shadow's already at the spinners. The spinners is the craziest part because these things are moving. Like Shadow gets on these things. This thing is spinning. The hamsters win. The humanity failed to this day. Shadow is a high performance athlete and the teachers are not. I mean, as a human, this obstacle course would be cool, but also again, looking at it from the hamster size, it is definitely something. No category for them, but they get to leave with 4K, 5K. Hamsters won, they go through each episode and then they mark who won what, the hamsters. So humans, 0, hamsters 1. I don't want to watch more of this, but I do want to go to the last episode just to see what the tally ends up being towards the end. So this is caroling elves and Christmas clerks versus hamsters. Do they actually have them dressed as caroling elves? Yep, they do. And it does seem to be every single challenge is the same. So like if you want to take this look for yourself watching one, you will just see it's the same obstacle courses each time, it looks like, because they just added Christmas stuff here. Shadow won again. Shadow is the challenge destroyer, it seems. In total, across the series, there was 4 winners of humans and 4 winners of hamsters. So there is no superior species according to human versus hamsters, aside from me who sat through this. And will I be watching this again? No. This was absurd, so I had to take a look at it, obviously. Do I think this will get another season? I don't think so. So curious more about the on-set site. I believe that was Allie in the comment section of the Reddit. I don't know about the other people that were commenting, but it does sound like they sounds like what I was assuming, where it's like, yeah, editing wise, they make it look like the hamster is there, but they're doing everything in like a separate area and filming it there. But as people are saying, it's like, yeah, but doing a maze can be stressful for them. So again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's not good. I don't feel good about it, but now it does exist. This is a thing that has existed now. And so now I watched it, so you don't have to. It looks like every single episode, the challenges are the same. Humans win sometimes, hamsters win others, is what it seems. Shadow is an absolute goat, is what I'm being told, looking at the results of this. And that's really going to be it. Did you watch Human vs. Hamster? Is this the first time you're hearing about it? Are you angry this was made? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you'd also like to join channel memberships, you can go ahead and click join down below. Like to follow me on social media, they'll be all up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. it's the overly scripted, but also not scripted, but also challenge show. Because like, what is the overall point of this show? You know, like, is this meant to give your super weird hypothesis like basis, like, oh yeah, hamsters versus humans, let's see who's better? Because if that's the case, then like your methods of doing this are not good. It's not solid. So of course that's not going to work. It's just, this whole thing is ridiculous. This whole thing is stupid. Anyways, that's going to be it.